Hey again, everyone. I know I said it was going to be a little bit before I did any more toy reviews, but my next discussion video is still in the works, and I just got some new figures I'm excited about. So I decided to surprise everybody with some new toy reviews while I'm waiting on the completion of my next discussion vid. So today I was lucky enough to snag the new Wave 2 Power of the Primes Legends class figures, and I'm going to review all three of them today. And they consist of Road Trap, Tailgate, and Battle Slash. So we're going to look at Tailgate first, then save the two Decepticons for last because they have a shared gimmick that longtime Generation 1 fans will be expecting. So without further ado, let's get started. So looking at Tailgate, his car mode is a recreation of that belonging to the original 80s toy, and very accurately so. It's got the Autobot symbol in the right spot. It's got all the right detailing on here on the top there. It's got some nice paint there on the front. Yeah. And it's simple. It's a car, it rolls on wheels. Not much going on there, but it looks good and is very representative of the character and its roots. If you guys know anything about Tailgate and Windcharger, you'll know that they have a history of being retools of one another, and that hasn't changed here. Tailgate is a new head retool of the Power of the Primes Windcharger toy that came out in the previous wave. So once I transform them, you guys can get a good look at how they compare to each other. Like Windcharger, Tailgate's roof section can raise up and allow for the seating of a Prime Master or any compatible figure. The Prime Master just slides in there, nice and pretty snugly. You can see the seat. This is robot mode. Makes for a cute little guy. Not a very threatening, looking character. It doesn't come with any kind of weapons or anything, but he definitely has a certain charm to him. He's got these nice little tampograph details here, which mimic somewhat those found on the original toy. Got the Autobot symbol right there in his little belt region. And he's fully posable, has all the normal ball joint posability you would expect. These are on hinges. And he's really neat to look at. He doesn't do a lot. He's simple, but he has a lot of charm to him, and he's definitely a figure that I'm going to enjoy seeing on my shelf. Here he is compared to Windcharger. Like I mentioned, he's just a new head retool. Everything about the body is the same. There is some clever use of color work here on the chest that makes it almost appear that Tailgate has, some new molding there, but it's not. Just, different paint choices. The tampos really help create the illusion. Definitely like his head a lot more than Windcharger's, despite the fact that I can forgive Windcharger for looking the way he does, based on the fact that they probably used just a bad screenshot of him as reference point. He still just comes off as really derpy looking. So Tailgate really just wins out between the two of them. And I like his colors a lot more too. I always found Windcharger's colors to be pretty dull, so. And lastly, I put Tailgate side by side with his Thrilling 30 counterpart. The Thrilling 30 Tailgate was obviously designed to look like his IDW version, which is a much more stylized take on Tailgate's classic look. And, some people really liked that. I mean, I'm personally a big fan of IDW Tailgate, but it also left some people understandably still wishing for something a little closer to their classic character that they, grew up with and loved in the 80s. The way I look at it, now there's kind of a Tailgate for every taste. If you want just pure 80s Tailgate, you got him. If you want IDW Tailgate, who just looks for love in all the wrong places, you've got that too. I will say, however, I do think this newer take on the character is just a better toy overall. He feels a lot sturdier, just more well put together. This one, while not a bad toy, I do find to be, a little lacking. I feel like there's a little more work that could have gone into it. It feels very light and cheap. proportions are a little bizarre. His arms are just set like way too far apart here. But I don't dislike it. I've got Tailgate's character card here. Nice little dynamic running shot, or I can't tell if he's running or like ducking for cover. Either way, it looks good. This one has the Alchemist Prime symbol on it, which I think is my first card to have that. Alchemist Tailgate. Refines energon to create a nearly limitless fuel source. So that's cool. Continuing with the land-based vehicles, we have Road Trap. He just turns into this little kind of blue utility vehicle looking thing. He's got a lot of nice, paint details on there. Some tampos there. Decepticon symbol. Rolls well. No issues there really. Got some painted headlights. Good touch there. Now, Road Trap does have some seating for a Prime Master, and it's not inside the vehicle, it's actually on top here. See these little notches here used for a Prime Master to just plug in, albeit not very securely. And yeah, it just creates this very bizarre half, seated position. It really just doesn't look right. I mean, you can have him get on there a little more by, bending his legs the wrong way, which just looks painful and also doesn't look right. Now, the interesting thing is if you look at the instructions, they actually tell you to attach the Prime Master in their little glyph mode, which looks less silly, So it looks more like they're actually powering up the character than riding on him. I don't know if that, they just decided to just go with that approach altogether when they designed this guy. Kind of seems that way from the instructions and from the fact that it just looks silly riding on him in a robot mode. So yeah, I guess they're taking an alternate approach to this guy. Just put the glyph on. I guess he rides that way. So, it's a little weird. Kind of breaks the play pattern a little bit because typically you just expect these Prime Masters or Titan Masters to ride these guys like vehicles, but whatever. Here's Road Trap's robot mode. You can see he's a very beefy looking little guy. He's got this very wide upper body. Again, those nice paint and tampo details really shine through here. Just give him a very dynamic, almost lit up appearance, and I like it. Back's nothing to write home about. Looks very cluttered and junky, and that's due to the special gimmick he shares with old Battle Slash. But yeah, his legs are, very posable. They look great. His, lower arms are fine. His upper arms here, shoulders, they are in a ball joint. My copy, for one, is very tight with the ball joint on this guy. A lot of resistance. But also, the level of movement is hindered just by the placement here. You have these hinges in the back that really stop you from, rotating the arms back or anything. Not a huge deal. Definitely hurts the play value a little bit, but, given everything this toy's supposed to do, I can let it slide. Head turns just fine, And he just looks cool. Looks like a little bruiser. Somebody you want to pick a fight with. Because it'll probably climb on your head and start beating on it. Here's Road Trap's card. It's got him looking all vengeful. And one thing you might notice is that the head design on this card is actually very different looking from the final design on the toy. It's a much smoother helmet on the card. So probably reflecting an earlier prototype of the figure. Looks cool either way. This particular guy has the Liege Maximo affiliation. Convinces enemies to sabotage their own systems. It's pretty wicked power, huh? Convince people to just start messing themselves up. I don't know if it's just coincidence, but I tend to see more Liege Maximo cards than any other one. I don't know if it's just my luck or if they're produced in greater numbers than others. I have no idea. And our final figure of the wave is the helicopter Battle Slash. It's got the working propeller blade, which I've noticed that after transforming him, you kind of have to pull up on this thing once you get it transformed to make sure there's enough clearance so it's not grinding against the cockpit here. Spins freely. That's the only articulation on this vehicle. You know, other than that, it's pretty much just a brick of a helicopter. Has this big gaping hole in the front, which is part of its gimmick. And yeah, you know, not quite as visually appealing as Road Trap is. It does have some painted details, you know, Decepticon tempo here. These are painted, but considering those are supposed to be feet and not really part of the helicopter mode, kind of takes away from it a little bit. But yeah, not a bad toy by any means, just not quite as exciting to look at. Battle Slash does seem to have been designed with the same play pattern in mind as Road Trap, as far as the Prime Master interaction goes. It's got the same notches for attaching the Prime Master, but no real room for the little guy to sit down proper, so only way for it to fit, again, is to just attach it in this little... I still don't know what to call these, I just call them glyph modes. There's no official name as far as I know. Yeah, not terrible looking, just looks like it's being powered up, but you know, depending on how much of a big deal it is to you to keep the gimmick universal, that might bother you, might not. Personally, I don't really care. I always found the whole little guy riding the Legends to be kind of just a extra thing that I don't really need in my life. Here's Battle Slash's robot mode. Just like Road Trap, he's a very wide, stocky looking character. He's got super thighs, never skips leg day. Yeah, you know, he's got about the same level of articulation. His shoulders are actually even more hindered by his transformation. They can't go back either. They're on kind of like at a weird angle. But everything else is pretty standard, pretty normal. Like any of the Legends in this line, he doesn't explicitly come with a weapon, though you could argue that having a spinning rotor blade attached to your wrist is probably pretty dangerous. Probably good for interrogations, right? You know, like, talk, you Autobot swine! I don't know why he had an accent just then. I just decided he does. Alright, we've got the final card to look at tonight. There's Battle Slash, kind of flying at you, wielding his propeller like a melee weapon, which the toy can't really do. I mean, you could potentially get the propeller pried off of his wrist, but the way it's built, you'd probably just end up damaging it. Wouldn't recommend it. This guy has a Nexus Prime symbol on his card. So I think that's my first one there. Nexus Battle Slash combines to form a duocon with any bot. Definitely like to see the result of that. Alright, I keep alluding to some mystery gimmick that these two share. A lot of you may already know what it is, but for anyone that isn't familiar with these guys, they combine, actually. Combine together to form a new robot called Battle Trap. Now, the original Battle Trap was a duocon, which in the 80s referred specifically to a transformer who was one robot that split into two individual vehicle modes. In Battle Trap's case, he split into a land vehicle, like a truck type vehicle, and a helicopter. In this recent toy line, Hasbro seems to have retconned the definition of a duocon to actually refer to a two transformer combiner of sorts. You see that with them referring to the Dreadwind combined airplane as a duocon, and now they're going to refer to the combined robot form of these two as a duocon. So language is always evolving, and that appears to be the case with Transformers too. So we're going to go ahead, transform these guys, connect them together, and let you gaze upon their true form, Battle Trap. And here he is, back from 1987 to haunt your dreams. We have the duocon, Battle Trap. He comes out to being a little bit shorter than your average deluxe, so puts him pretty decently in scale with, other Decepticons and Autobots out there. His articulation's good, more so in the arms, head turns. The legs, he has like all sorts of ankle tilt going on, And he does kind of have knees. Like his legs will bend, though you have to untab this piece to do so. So I'm not sure if the knees are really an intended function. But yeah, looks pretty cool. Got a very skinny waist. The only thing that I really don't like about this combined form, really, is this whole placement of the rotor blade. It just kind of sits straight back against the spine, which, I mean, puts it fairly out of the way, though it just kind of dangles back here and could definitely get in the way of some poses with his legs. I have seen some fan modes of this guy, which find some arguably better places for it. I'm not typically big on doing fan modes myself, but if you're all about trying to maximize your enjoyment of the toy by changing up a little, away from the instructions, have at it. Oh yeah, he does have a waist swivel too, which is basically just the helicopter rotating around on Road Trap's head, but it works. Looks good. There's no separate card for Battle Trap, but there's this little cardboard insert on the side of the packages for the two individual bots that shows, a clip of his artwork. Wish I could find the whole thing somewhere. Looks kind of dumb. I'm not gonna lie, the way they drew his face, he looks like a crying baby with sunglasses on. The actual toy's head looks way better. Much cooler looking. So there we have it. This is the entirety of Legends Wave 2 for Power of the Primes. I like this wave a lot. I would say I'm actually a bit more excited about it than the first wave, considering that one of the Wave 1 Legends was just a rehash of a much older figure. Tailgate looks good. I do like him a bit more than Windcharger. And just getting an obscure character like Battle Trap after all these years, was way more than I would have expected. Though, given, the current design team's focus on later Gen 1 characters and obscure characters, I guess maybe I shouldn't be too surprised. I think it's cool that they changed him from being a robot that just splits into two vehicles to being an actual combiner comprised of, two smaller Transformers. It just adds to the playability. It definitely doesn't really take anything away from it. And you could argue that, his combiner function, some bits of the design were compromised, which is true, but when you look at the original Battle Trap figure, that thing was not pretty. So, I mean, this is an improvement, even with the, extra little bits of robot chunks littered throughout. So yeah, these are just starting to pop up here in the US now. They hit, I believe, Singapore first and the UK. They're finally currently turning up in just Walmarts littered throughout the country. I actually snagged these two while I was on the hunt for the new Voyagers. I was hoping to get those, but no luck so far. Hopefully, if I do get those, sometime soon, I'll throw a review up for them. But yeah, that's all I have to say on these two. Hope you guys enjoyed this, kind of surprise toy review. Again, still working on my new discussion video, which should be out here by the end of the week. So feel free to leave a comment below. Let me know what you think of these toys. If you're looking at picking them up, if you were lucky enough to get one already, tell me what you think of them. And with all that said, I will see you next time.